Okay, remember you're still at the World FinTech Festival. This is being held globally, and this Nigerian event is being held in partnership with the Singapore FinTech Festival and the FinTech Association of Nigeria. So welcome again. Remember the hashtag to use is hashtag WFF 2021, and it is brought to you by Access Bank and AFF, which is the Africa FinTech Foundry. So once again, welcome. Our next speaker will be speaking on the Nigerian digital architecture, and that would be by Kashifu Inua, Director General of NITDA, ably represented by my Oga, Dr. Vincent Olatunji, Director of E-Government at NITDA. Please join me and welcome Dr. Vincent for his speech. Please, a round of applause for him.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really excited to be in your midst this morning to represent my DG, Kashifu Inua Abdullahi, who would have loved to be here personally to deliver this paper, but he's currently out of the country. He's in France with Mr. President. He actually wanted to join from there, but they are really busy there. So he directed me to come in this morning to represent him, because the organizers really wanted him to be here, physically, not even virtually, but when it became very difficult, when he knew that he had to travel, he said, okay, maybe we could do it virtually. Again, it was difficult there, so he said I should come and represent him. So we're really glad to be here this morning. What we are going to be talking about, how much time do I have? 10. And I prepared for 40 minutes. Anyway, I'll just run through what we have here. So what I'll be talking about this morning is about Nigerian digital architecture and the journey so far. We're all aware that NITDA is the government body in charge of regulating IT in Nigeria, and the Prasta is under Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. And even before the designation of the ministry as Minister of Digital Economy, NITDA had done a lot in the area of implementing national IT policy, national government master plan, and so many other activities. But let me just run through the slides. Can we move, please? Who's controlling it? Okay. Keep moving, keep moving. Just like the summary of the outline of the presentation. Keep moving. Yeah, for any country to actually move into digital age and be digitally transformed, there's some basic things we need to really consider, which is the general practice globally. We look at direction. Where are you headed as a country in line with global best practice and what is happening, mostly in the developed countries? You got your foundational capabilities. What do you really have? What are your targets? What are your priority areas? Is it in the area of education, human capital, agri, or whatever? This is where you really need to target your ICT journey towards. Then look at strategic initiatives that you can really put in place to ensure that you're on track. You talk of innovations that will lead to transformation. Next, please. Sorry, since I have 10 minutes, maybe we'll just leave this thing and just speak. I think it's best for us. As I said before that NITDA was established in 2001 to implement national IT policy under the Ministry of Communications then. With the coming of this current government, in 2019 precisely, the ministry was designated as Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. When we started our focus was to implement a national IT policy for the country, looking at sectoral application of ICT, agric, education, health, judiciary, legislation, all sectors of the economy. And what we were doing mainly then was to create awareness and encourage all these sectors to effectively deploy ICT to achieve their mandates. Then we came up with the National E-Government Master Plan, which we developed in collaboration with COICA, that is Korea International Agency for International Cooperation. Also, that was also built on the IT policy to ensure that we firstly deploy ICT. More importantly, what they had already done in Korea to effectively deploy ICT for their sustainable development. We worked with them for almost 5 years to develop that plan. And when this current government came, and that's kind of set a new perspective for digitalizing our economy in Nigeria, for moving towards a national digital economy for the country. And what we did was to develop a national digital economy policy and strategy for the country with 8 major pillars, which are in line with global best practice, which as developed by the World Bank. Now we look at different areas that we need to use IT to drive to ensure digital economy in Nigeria. The last session, they talked a lot about regulation, which is really key. And that's why most people in the startup ecosystem, they don't want to see regulators. But what we are looking at here is developmental regulations. How can you regulate at the same time develop the digital economy, which I'm talking about? The global digital economy currently is worth over $11.5 trillion. And looking at population, the APAN mentioned that we have potential as a country. How do we really have this potential to benefit from the global digital economy? If you don't properly regulate, you just see all kinds of things, dunks everywhere that will not make any impact. I'll tell you, there are several times that will call for maybe challenge or whatever, just to look at talent that are available in the country. You may have up to 1,000 applications. By the time you really look through them thoroughly, you may get up to 50 that are really viable. By the time you call them, you interview them, you engage with them, you will not get up to 10 that are really good. So if you don't really regulate, you can't get the best out of the country. Now you want to take people out of this country to meet with other global brands, other global startup organizations. If you don't have the best, you don't take the best that you have out of the country, you'll be able to achieve anything, and you cannot benefit from the global digital economy. And that's why the first thing under NDEPS, which is the Nigerian Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, is developmental regulations. Can we move quickly, please? Let me just. Move on. Well, just go to NDEPS. Keep moving to the pillars of national digital economy. That was the launch by Mr. President. That was in 2019. Good. These are the pillars of NDEPS. I mentioned developmental regulations. The digital literacy, which is really key. No matter what you want to do, you do have the required man capital to drive your processes, to drive your technology, to drive your infrastructure. You'll be able to achieve anything. And that's why it's really important to develop the requisite skills that will be globally competitive to compete at that global level for us to be able to benefit from the global economy. We talk of solid infrastructure, service infrastructure, digital service development and promotion, soft infrastructure, digital society and emerging technologies, digital content development and adoption. What we are trying to really achieve with these pillars, we are trying to look at what we can do in these specific areas to stimulate growth that will lead to a viable and sustainable digital economy for the country. Now, when you have this as the architecture, as the way forward for you as a country, what do you need to put in place to be able to achieve it? Now we have a lot of institutions that are under the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. We have NITDA, we have NCC, we have NIPOST, we have Galaxy Backbone, we have Niger Consult in charge of our satellite. We also have NIMSI, that's the agency in charge of our identity management. These are institutions that have been set up by federal government to ensure proper implementation of whatever plans, whatever policies that we have to ensure digital economy for the country. And all these parastatals, all these agencies have roles to play implementing this. And we are not saying that government alone should implement. The major function for us is to use all these plans, policies to create the enabling environment from private sector organizations, startup companies, innovators to come in and make their impact. So all of us, government, private sector organizations, advocacy groups, startups will be able to come together to implement this and make digital economy work in Nigeria. Next, please. Next. Now, during the swearing of ministers in 2019, they were given specific mandates to achieve, and they were given timelines to achieve this mandate. What we have done, we tried to map this mandate with all the pillars that we have in NDEPS. And here, for instance, if you look at the area of developmental regulation, we are looking at something like broadband connectivity, 4G deployment, digital economy strategy itself, which is like a policy to drive whatever I want to achieve in the sector. Then look at digital literacy, talking about skills and stuff like that. Can we move to the next one? Keep moving, please. Yeah, this is just like the foundation for whatever I want to achieve in terms of policies, in terms of developing human capital, in terms of the processes that you want to put in place to be able to achieve it. And these are all initiatives that were put in place to be able to achieve that. For instance, we have what we call NCA, which is National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, which is in Abuja, where we kind of mentor innovators who have ideas, who have potentials that we can develop and mentor, and we take from the ideas, we can now get solutions that will address specific problems in the country. We have digital identity, because there's no way you can really practice or have a digital economy without proper identity. And that's why we need to commend NIMSI with what they've been doing so far. Now, in terms of registration, they have about 66 million that they've done, which that was from about 36 million since when they started. And with this, the launch of this policy, we are doing about 66 million currently. Next slide, please. Now, for us in NITDA, what we have done, we now have our own strategic roadmap, which is directly in line with what we have in NDEPS. We now pick out specific activities, specific initiatives that we need to put in place to be able to achieve, to contribute towards achieving the aims and objectives of NDEPS Nigeria. Next slide, please. Developmental regulations. Now, under developmental regulation, we've just picked two major items that we have achieved, which is really critical to us in NITDA and in Nigeria as a country. Looking at the issue of data protection, we know that when you have a digital economy, the most important thing that you talk about there is data. Without data, you can't have any information. Without information, you can't really make any part of it. Make decisions. You can't even plan. You can't have policies that we put in place. Now we came up with NDPR, because even without regulations, most countries, most organizations will not be willing to do business with you. If they come to you to do business, there is no framework, no guideline, no policy, no regulation protecting their own investment in your country. And for confidence, for trust, for protection of privacy of citizens in Nigeria, we come up with NDPR, which was launched in January 2019. And between when we said for ease of doing business, cross-border data flow, creation of jobs, international recognition, and so on. Between when we launched NDPR and now, we have created an ecosystem, an economy that is worth over $5 billion, 5 billion naira. We have also created an economy that has employed over 3,000 people in Nigeria through data protection officers, job roles, data protection compliance organizations, and we are now, the country is now a member of so many data protection organizations across the globe. Now, looking at the issue of IT projects, we're all aware that the failure of IT projects across the globe is really high. And one thing that has led to this is the fact that maybe in terms of planning or whatever, and we have put in place this IT project clearance policy that all MDs of government embarking on non-IT projects must come to NITDA to clear them, to ensure value for money, global best practice, curb corruption, and avoid undue duplication. Through this project, we'll be able to save government over 30 billion naira. Can we go to this one quickly, please? Next. Keep moving. All these are initiatives under NITDA staff, keep moving, please. Cybersecurity, which is really key. No matter what you're doing online, if you are not secured, we are just defending ourselves. So the issue of cybersecurity is a major pillar there, and we have put a lot of things in place to ensure that we secure our presence in cyberspace. Next one. Next one. Keep moving, please. The national broadband policy, which is really key. We have some states that are charging as low as 145 naira per linear meter at against 145,000 naira before. That the e-commerce, okay, keep moving. Now, with all this that we have put in place, we need to look at the impact, what impact have really made. Now, the contribution of this sector to our GDP as at second quarter of 2021 was 17.90%, which has made the sector the largest contributor to our GDP as a country. And this is due to the kind of the plans and policies that we have put in place as a ministry under this government. Then we need to have a shared vision. Then partnership is really key, because without really working together, we won't be able to achieve anything. And that is one of the reasons why we are here today, to be part of this wonderful audience. And we believe with all of us working together, we can achieve that desired digital economy for the country and make a desired impact. Thank you very much. Sorry, I really have to rush over everything. And we have 40 minutes to do that within 10 minutes. You know, it's not really, so I'm really sorry about it. Thank you.
Round of applause for Dr. Vincent Alantunji. When you're a PhD holder, this is what happens. Wow, the slide looks like a thesis, PhD thesis. All right, any questions for NITDA, Dr. Vincent? Any questions? Online? Is there a question online? Do you have a question? All right, so Dr. Vincent, this is for you.
Good morning, Dr. Vincent, Director with NITDA. Commend you and NITDA for what you're doing in driving Nigeria's IT policy and, of course, data protection. I know that, I think it was in August that ProShare published that you sanctioned Soko loan for privacy invasion. The data protection work you've been doing is remarkable. And I don't know if you're leveraging effectively the regulators forum, where FinTech Nigeria has other regulators, to find a way we can really address this challenge, because there've been a lot of complaints that some FinTechs that are giving loans to young millennials and all that, they have a way of invading their privacy for recovery. And I believe that if we can really address that, it will go a long way to help drive the inclusion. So how are you engaging other regulators to the regulators forum to see how we can address this? That sanctioning of Soko was a major step, because privacy invasion, it wasn't so good. Thank you.
Okay, any other question?
Okay, thank you. My name is Romanus Eke. Thank you, Vincent, for your wonderful presentation. Please, I would want to find out what NITDA is doing when it comes to empowering young Nigerians who have tech background, but they are limited in terms of empowerment. So I know NITDA has got tech incubation hubs, but do we have a program that seeks to get these young Nigerians to those hubs and have them trained in special skills?
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much for the questions on the NDPR sanctions. About this time yesterday, we were with the DG of FCCP, that's the Federal Consumer Protection Commission, the head of ICPC, and some representative of CBN. Because we discovered that what is happening in Nigeria with these lending complaints, that they've identified a vulnerable group, the low-income earners, that 10, 20, 30,000 will really mean a lot to. I can't imagine going for a loan of 50,000, try to get it from any bank or whatever now. But there are some people that when you give them 10 million and 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, it's a lot of money to them. And what they have done was to use a kind of app that will have access to the contacts of these people they are giving money to. So if you default, maybe for only 1 month or 2 months, they start sending messages to your contacts. They'll say, okay, this fellow is this, is that, and whatever. And that alone is enough for us to prosecute them. And that was why we went after Sokolo. But it's kind of most of these lending companies are not owned by Nigerians. You just have 1 or 2 few Nigerians working under them. So when you really go out for them, you don't see the people behind this thing. When we started Sokolo, the first address they gave, we went there, nobody. But good enough, we have a team from the office of the IGDP, that's the Inspector General of Police, that are working with us in enforcing NDPR. They've launched their investigations. Eventually, we got to know their office, somewhere around Lekki here. And that was why we were able to, they sent some consultants to negotiate, but we told them, we are here for the interest of Nigerians. We'll be able to negotiate anything, go and pay your fine. And what we did at the meeting of yesterday was for major regulators in the area of tech, in the area of the financial sector, money laundering, financial crimes, to come together to look at, okay, these people are just exploiting Nigerians, vulnerable Nigerians. What do we need to do? What do we address major problem? And within the next 1 or 2 weeks, you'll be hearing from us. It's a collaborative effort now, not only from NITDA, but on our own part at NITDA, we already planned a town hall meeting with all these lenders. And because on daily basis, we receive complaints. In fact, within the last 3 months, we've received over 100 complaints and we have tended to over 40. And the same thing goes for all these organizations from the experience they shared with us yesterday. So we are coming together to address this frontally. And very soon we'll hear from us. And it wasn't only Sokolo that we sanctioned. We sanctioned the payment platform, we sanctioned even the state government, and they paid and they complied. But one good thing about this is that the awareness is increasing by the day. People are beginning to know about the need for privacy, protection of privacy. That if you don't do that, there are laws to guide or to penalize you or whatever. And with that, I'm sure we'll be able to make desired impact. Now, on what we are doing to encourage innovators, like I said when I was rushing through the presentation, that we have a program to identify people with ideas, take ideas to solutions that will address specific problems. Last month, despite all the flight problems, we are still agitators. I'm sure you're aware, there was a time you were with us. We took 9 startups to do what? Well, we will take them through a very rigorous process of selection. We'll mentor them, we'll coach them, we'll train them, and we'll take them out, possibly to meet with people they can partner with. And there are some of them that even fund. For instance, during COVID, we launched a challenge. And eventually we came up with 3 that we supported, and we're still supporting them now. So we had that special program to support startups that have ideas that want to provide solutions to specific problems. You don't just have ideas that will address, that will have nothing new. What's new, what we are bringing on board? And we have 2 major offices, subsidiaries of NITDA, NCI, the Nigerian Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, and Nigerian Office for Local Content Development. These offices will have been set up to mentor those who have ideas, to mentor innovators and to advise them, and at times even fund their products or the solutions until they become solutions that they can deploy. So we have that program in place, and if anybody has anything that you think you want to really push forward, we're available, and I'm here, I'm happy to discuss with you here and link you up with the appropriate officers in the office in Abuja. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vincent. Please, a round of applause for him. One message we want you to take back is that NITDA needs to do more. So please take that back to our friend, the DG Kashifu Inoa.